Let's move on now to 5A. Our hot and cold question.
5A, the class that is breathing a huge sigh of relief as the top two contenders from the past two seasons
Right.
have moved on.
The two teams that were in the state finals the last 2 years, Zionsville and Cathedral, have moved on to 6A. So that leads us right into this question. 5A is the most wide open class in Indiana. And that's definitely a hot take as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the main reason is the fact that, like we said, Cathedral and Zionsville, the teams that have played in the last two state finals, are now in 6A. I mean, the state tournament as a whole last year was a bloodbath. You have number 2, Decatur Central, falling to Cathedral in sectionals. You've got number 3, Harrison, losing to number 12, Zionsville, in the sectionals. Number 4, Valpo was the only top 5 team to advance out of sectional that first 3 weeks of sectional play. Number 12, Zionsville, made the state final despite having a 4-5 regular season. New Pal, who finished ranked, is down in 4A now. So a lot of the top teams either didn't make it out of sectionals, have moved on to a higher class, or have moved to a lower class. So it kind of opens that door to where you're kind of looking at, when you're trying to preview this season, you're kind of looking at some of the teams that were ranked like 7th, 8th, 9th, as far as teams that would contend this season, because a lot of those teams have moved on. So it is a wide open class as far as I'm concerned, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think this is definitely going to be a wide open class. I mean, yeah, you do have Chesterton that got bumped down from 6A, but I mean, it's gonna be a tough one. I think we're fine. I don't know. It's wide open. I don't have really a whole lot to say about it because I don't really. It's because it's that wide open. It's going to be tough to pinpoint exactly one player.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, looking even at the toughest sectional 10, in my opinion, you've got Valpo, who was number 4 in 5A last season. They're a top 40 team in the state in terms of points per game, points allowed per game, and margin of victory. So they're really good. You have Michigan City, who was the number 10 team last year, fresh off a semi-state appearance. They defeated Valpo in the sectional title game in 2 overtimes. Like you mentioned, Chesterton down from 6A. They finished the season ranked in the state's highest class, and that's just a recipe for another topsy-turvy tournament in terms of 5A. So that's a sectional right there, sectional 10, that's going to be very tough to get out of.
Oh yeah. For me, I'm looking at sectional 9. The Hammond Central, Hammond Morton, Maryville, or also known as Andrian, and Munster. When you look at, it's kind of, I don't know. For me, I'm looking at the teams that could potentially make the most noise, and Andrian Maryville is actually ranked 13 in the total top 25 Max Preps preseason top 25. So it'd be kind of fun. It's going to be fun to see that team. And really, I mean, the other one I'm keeping an eye on as well is sectional 10 with Chesterton, just with where they finished last year within 6A. And I feel like their drop down to 5A is totally having to do with population decrease. Because that's one of the ways you can drop down, and they weren't bad. So it's not like they dropped down because it's like, yeah, you haven't won any games in 6A for the last 3 seasons. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. No, it's your population has decreased. So, I mean, gosh, it's so tough to pick one. I mean, I guess the other one, looking at it, I did mention this one, or looking at this one, is sectional 12. Though the Fort Wayne schools are usually sneaky good. They usually have some pretty good prospects college wise. When you look at Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger and Fort Wayne Snyder, those two are always always sneak somebody into that's a highly recruited prospect nationally. And it's like, are they going to go to Michigan or Notre Dame or Ohio State? And it's like, wait a second, who is this kid? Where did they come from? And it's like Fort Wayne is just a hotbed of like really athletic individuals. So that's another one to really keep an eye on, just because some of those teams are usually pretty sneaky. And there was a time where like Fort Wayne Snyder was like always there, or Bishop Dwenger too. Those are two really tough schools. So those are my sectionals to keep an eye on. It's hard to pinpoint one with all the movement. It really is.
Hey, and Snyder just had a former athlete go to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, if that gives you any indication of the talent they churn out, but right along the lines of talent in 5A, my player to watch for 5A is going to be Bloomington North running back Cody Mcculloch. I can pronounce words. Mcculloch. He was a 3,000 yard rusher. He's had back-to-back 1,000 yard seasons. He's got 3,000 yards for his career. He averages 8 yards per rush for his career, 52 total touchdowns. Last season, he had 1,100 yards, 16 touchdowns on the ground, ninth in 5A in rushing yards, most touchdowns in 5A, 610 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. I mean, he was just an absolute force, an absolute weapon for Bloomington North, and I think that he's going to help lead that team to a good year. So Cody Mcculloch is my player to watch for 5A.
Yeah, I definitely agree with. I was looking at Cody Mcculloch as well. I mean, typically, I don't know what it is with that region in high school football. They usually have really good running backs, anyways. And if you are able to put up 3,000 rushing yards and have back-to-back 1,000 yard seasons, that's impressive. That's really impressive. 8 yards per carry. Wow. But yeah, that's somebody that I've got my eye on as well. It's for me, I'll admit it's tough looking at these rosters and just deciphering who to really fully keep an eye on. There's some that stand out, and most of them just kind of for me, but when I was looking through everything he did, his numbers really they pop out to you. And especially being on a team you don't really hear too much about on the competition wise. So hopefully we can see big things out of this team. I mean, he's living down in an area down in IU country, and they're always looking for good running backs. So hopefully see continued big things out of him this year, and he can catch on with some of these some Big Ten programs that are looking to shore up their running back room.
So as we wrap up 5A here, our dark horse and state champ, my dark horse for 5A is going to be Castle. They finished ranked number 13 last season. Their quarterback, Cameron Tilley, finished 4th in 5A in passing yards, 1,700 yards, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, that's 4th in 5A, the same 5A that last year had Brady O'Neill from Cathedral. So, I mean, to be up there with the likes of him is pretty good. They returned their top 2 leading rushers and receivers, so they've got that same kind of talent back. And they had a top 25 defense in the state last season in terms of points allowed per game. So I think they're going to be another strong team, another year of experience under their belt. I think they're going to be a tough out when it comes to the state tournament. But overall, my state champion is going to be Maryville from 5A. They went 12-1. They finished number 3 in 6A last season. Their class of 2023 has gone 33-5 with 3 semi-state appearances. Coach Brad Seas had the Pirates knocking on the door in the state's highest level, because they did drop down from 6A to 5A, and I think they can get it done in 5A after spending all that time knocking on the door in 6A. I think they can get it done now that they're still going to face some tough competition, but having been seasoned by that tougher competition, I think they're going to be ready to go.
Yeah, so for me, when I'm looking, the team that I'm looking out for, like my dark horse, is Chesterton. They did finish the season ranked in 6A and just got bumped down because of population. I feel like that talent level could transfer over and could be a high level within 5A. It's going to be tough because when you look I mean, coming up from up north, obviously they're probably going to be on the radars for the Fort Wayne schools, different things like that. But Chesterton is definitely my dark horse, being the new team to 5A. My state champ is Maryville as well. I mean, they returned so much, and they're coming off of a one-loss season last year. So Maryville is my 5A state champ as well.